and welcome to class number 5. So yeah, if you've got to this class so far, you're doing really well in our beginner series. Today the last class we focused on sun salutations. So we're going to do another round of those in this class and then add on a little bit further, introducing some standing poses. So we'll begin in a cross-legged position for this class. We're going to, with the arms, go into that sort of child's pose arms, only maintaining a cross-legged position this time. So start off by stretching the spine towards the ceiling. We will kind of pull the shoulder blades together at the back. You can close down the eyes if you want to and relax the shoulders away from the ears. From here, we're going to crawl forward. And down, we'll crawl forward to the front, past the front of the mat, and pop our head down. Again, the same intentions with our upper body with the child's pose, of that intention of bringing the forehead towards the floor. I find it quite a wee bit more difficult in this cross-legged position, but we're still working the same parts of the body. So we'll just get to where it's comfortable, not past our edge. Again, we're starting off slow at the beginning of the class. Let's not overstretch too soon. And just breathe here, slowing down the breath, coming into the present moment. Forgetting what's happened this morning or the start of the day already. And not thinking about what we're going to do afterwards. Just giving ourselves 30 minutes here for ourselves to open up the body, improve the mobility, stretch out the muscles, and strengthening everything up along the way. One more slow breath here. Before we start to crawl our fingertips towards the right hand side. Now here we're going to do a bit of a circling action. So we'll keep crawling our fingertips towards the right hand side until our right hand can plant beside the right knee. When we get there, we'll stretch up and move into our side stretch on the right hand side. So pushing the left arm up and over, trying to touch it towards the ear. Stretching out those fingertips, pushing the bum into the mat. One more breath here before we go up and over to the left hand side. So we'll sweep the left hand down and plant it beside the left knee and stretch the right hand up and over, moving slowly and with intention here. Stretching out those fingertips, pushing the right bum cheek into the mat to get that stretch on the right hand side. See if you can straighten out the right arm in the process. And then we're going to finish off the circling motion here by crawling down to where we started. So sweeping that hand down until it touches the mat, stretching out the fingertips and crawling them back into that cross-legged child's position. So rest here for a couple of breaths. See if now that you've stretched out, you can crawl the fingertips a little bit further forward than they were the first time. And see if you can push that forehead towards the floor a little bit more than it was the first time. 2 big, slow, deep breaths here. Enjoying the stretch in the lower back. Enjoying the stretch in the upper back, the shoulders, the neck. Before we reverse that motion towards the left hand side, so crawling our fingertips to the left hand side. You know how it goes this time. The left hand's going to plant beside the knee and we'll sweep the right hand, moving the hair out of the way. We'll sweep the right hand up and over, stretching the fingertips, pushing the bum into the mat. Seeing if we can straighten out the arm. And sweep her over to the other side slowly when you're ready. No jerking motions to annoy the spine. We're just warming it up here. Right hand to the mat, left arm stretches over. See if we can straighten out the arm. Straightening out the arm rather than bending into the right hand side. As I've said many times before, that's where you're getting the stretch from here. And finishing off that circle motion by bringing both fingertips down to the floor and crawling back to center. 2 more breaths here. See if you can crawl even a wee bit further forward this time. And see if you can breathe a little bit slower this time. Elongating the breath. Calming our body down. And we'll start to crawl back up to our seated position. We're going to come straight into our tabletop here. So facing the front of the mat, we plant our hands underneath our shoulders. We plant our knee underneath our hip bones. We're going to change it up a little bit today with the spinal warm-up. We're going to push, we'll start off in our cow position. So we'll start off pushing our bum up towards the ceiling, pushing our shoulder blades back away from the ears and looking up. This time, instead of coming into our regular cat position, we're going to push the bum down towards the heels. So the bum's going to come down towards the heels and we're going to tuck the tailbone in as we do it and round the spine the other direction. As our bum hits our heels, we'll tuck our chin in and curl the spine, pushing the palms into the mat, pushing up the shoulder blades towards the ears this time. Making that into a waving motion, bring the bum back up into our cow position. So we'll wave up the spine, then we'll send the bum up, we'll send the shoulders back and we'll look up. 2 more like this. Tucking the tailbone, pushing the bum back towards the heels, tucking the chin in, curling the spine. And then as we rise up, we want to feel each vertebrae uncurl here. Curling it until we're back into that tabletop, and then we'll push the shoulder blades back, push the belly down, push the bum up, look up. 1 more like this, enjoy it here. Pushing the bum back to the heels, tucking the tailbone, tucking the chin under and curling inwards. Pushing up to our final cow position, back up into tabletop before the shoulder blades come back and we push the bum up. Lovely. Let's get into it. Back to tabletop and into our down dog. Let's see, challenge yourself this time to see if you can come straight up into a down dog, remembering all your cues. So spreading out the fingertips if they aren't already, lift the hands up, spread out the fingertips, push the hands in, tuck the toes and send our hips up to the sky. Ripping the mat in half, keeping engagement in the arms, pushing the shoulder blades together behind us so our chest is pushing towards our thighs and pedaling it out. If that feels good, stretching into one leg and then the other. You can shake your head as you do this, loosening up the neck. Come to stillness for 1 more breath before we're going to step both feet forward into our forward fold. So when you're ready, send the right leg. Whoop, I'm whacking into the thing today. Send the right leg up to the sky, bend the knee and curl our knee in towards our chest as we move forward, forward, forward to plant the foot. We're going to do that rock and roll motion to immediately bring the left leg forward. See if you can make two fists with your hands and place them in between the feet. So our feet are hip width distance apart so we can enjoy our forward fold. Bring the hands to the elbows if you like and go into that ragdoll position. Bending the knees as much as we want to here. Sending the hips up to the sky and bringing the crown of the head towards the floor, just letting it hang. Not pushing too much here, just enjoying the forward fold. Coming up to our mountain pose now. Your hands on your elbows, you can bring the fingertips back to the floor. We'll push into the feet, keeping a bend in the knees as we uncurl the spine. Uncurl, uncurl, uncurl. And we can sweep the hands up above our head. Bring our hands in front of our chest. And then bring the hands down to the side. Perfect. Our mountain pose. We're pushing into the feet. We're lifting the kneecaps. We are tucking the tailbone in to maintain a straight spine. We're keeping our palms facing in front of us, bringing our shoulder blades together. Bringing a nice opening in the chest. Our neck is neutral. We're not looking up. We're not looking down. Neutral neck. And gazing forward. Breathing deeply just for a couple of breaths before we go into one round of those sun salutations that we should know so well now. Alright, let's get into it. Sweep the hands up above the head, get them to meet at the top. If you fancy it here, you can do a little bit of a back bend before we bend the knees slightly and bring our fingertips back down to the floor to our forward fold. Not holding here for too long. We'll bring the hands up the shins as much as they need to so our shoulder blades meet. And we straighten our spine. Neck neutral, gazing straight down to the mat in front of us. Breathe out, let it all go. Back to forward fold. The left foot's going to step back this time. Left foot's going back into our low lunge. Knee comes to the floor. Untuck the toe. Sweep the hands up to the sky. A quick check here to make sure our hips are tracking in one line. And a double check here to make sure our ankle is below our knee. Hopefully, the more we practice this low lunge, the more our body's getting used to this movement, and we're hopefully starting to think in our head about those little adjustments that we make every time. Just becomes more natural every time we do it. See if we can get a little back bend in here if you haven't tried that in previous classes. Bring our fingertips to the mat or coming back into a plank. Let's do it. Always option for the knees, chest, chin, the easier variation, but let's work through the harder one if you've been practicing this already. A strong, stable plank here, which means our wrists are below our shoulders. It makes it harder for us if our hands are right here. It makes it extremely hard in the core to hold this, and also it's not great for our joints either. Pushing the heels back to be strong and stable. All right, we're going to come down towards the mat. So hug your elbows in here, keeping the whole body tensed as we go down, 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 down. Feeling it in the triceps, mine are burning. Untuck the toes, zip the feet together. We'll all just do a cobra for our first back bend of this class. So pushing in to the mat, using our lower back strength to open up the chest, look up, breathe in. And breathe out, back down. Coming back into a downward dog. Child's pose is also an easier variation if you're not feeling down dog today. So if you're coming down dog, you can push back up through a plank and then send the hips up towards the sky, opening the chest, pushing back, pushing into the hands. And breathe in here. All right, let's not hold that for too long. Left leg comes up to the sky. We bend the knee and curl it in towards the chest as we move forward, 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 and drop that foot between the hands. Shimmy if you need to, but hopefully that one's getting slightly easier. Knee comes down, untuck the toe, sweep the hands to the sky. Our ankle is below our knee, our two hips are tracking in one line, and we can do a nice little back bend if we fancy it, before our fingertips come to the floor. We're moving forward this time to our forward fold to complete the cycle. Swinging it forward, feet hip width distance apart. A quick forward fold here before we push the feet into the floor. Maintain a small bend in the knees, and we sweep back up to standing. Our hands meet at the top. They come down to the center of our chest, and our palms spread wide for our mountain pose. Breathe out through the mouth, nice cleansing breath here. Just take a couple of breaths here. Before we do that same motion of the cycle again, only I'm going to add in a couple of standing poses this time. So rather than a low lunge, we're going to go into a high lunge and test the strength in the legs and the balance. Let's go. Sweep the hands up towards the sky. Palms to meet. Back bend if you fancy it. And bringing the palms and the fingertips back down to the floor, forward fold. Flat back position, breathe in, bring the hands up the shins, shoulder blades together, looking down, straight spine. Breathe out, fingertips to the mat. Okay, right leg's gonna come back this time. This time we're not gonna drop the knee. I mean, always an option if you're finding it difficult. If you want to challenge yourself here and progress, let's try to keep the leg straight this time. So coming back, come onto the fingertips first, see if you can straighten the spine. We're going to try and find our balance here because we're going to push up into a lunge. So our front foot is going to be firmly planted into the mat, and our back toes are firmly planted into the mat. Here we're going to sweep and rise up straight in to our high lunge this time. Let's do it. Just double check. The same checking motion where your two hips are in one line facing forward might be a wee bit more difficult in your high lunge. We tend to sort of don't lunge too far here. This isn't what we want. This is actually really hard to hold when we maintain our ankle or our knee over our ankle. It's a lot easier and a lot strong and stable to hold. Sweeping up here. Let's go into a nice reversing motion. So reverse warrior, this is called. So we'll bring our right hand back to the back of our thigh. Don't touch the knee joint. If you can reach down to the bottom of the leg, go for it. But we'll keep our right hand at the top of the thigh and we'll stretch backward. This is hard with the balance. So push into that front foot, push into the toes. We're getting our stability from the points on the mat to stretch and open the front body. Reverse. We're going to use a cartwheeling motion with our hands here to bring them back down to the mat. We can drop the knee here if we need a bit of a rest from that. And we're going to come back into our plank position. So again, you can come back to a knee position if you want, or straight into our plank. Let's go from plank, come on. If you can. Same action, strong stable plank, push into the heels, push into the wrist, push up out of the shoulders, whole body is nice and tense before we keep those elbows hugged into the shoulders and come down, 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 down onto the mat. Untuck the toes here. This time you've got the option of up dog, or we can maintain the cobra with that action. Cobra is keeping our elbows tucked in behind and pushing up. If we want to go through up dog, we are planting the palms firmly. We are zipping up the whole legs and tensing the whole leg. Feel your thigh bones or your thigh muscles completely tensed here to protect the lower back before we push up into our up dog. We're trying to keep the knees off the floor here as well. If you're feeling strong and stable here, you can relax the shoulders away from the ears and look up. We're all going into downward dog. If you're following me from up dog, we'll tuck the toes first and then send the bum up to the sky, pushing back. You can come into child here if you need a rest. Otherwise, we're not staying for too long, so try and maintain a down dog if you can. This time our right foot is going to come up to the sky. We will tuck the knee in, move it forward, 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 and drop it between the hands. Just fixing our feet here before we go up, so our stability, you're pushing into the toe, the heel, the outside edge, the inside edge of the foot. We are firmly pushing the back toes into the floor. And can I just make sure with the feet too, they aren't in one line. We're keeping them exactly the same as they were in the low lunge. So if they're tracking in one line, it's going to be unstable. So we keep them, kind of hip width distance apart. Then we'll push here and rise up. Pushing into the back toes, double checking that our two hips are in one line. Using our leg strength here, using that, remember that scissor motion, that comes into action a lot more in our high lunge. That's how we kind of keep our hips forward and the inner thighs here are working together to keep us up to the sky. Going into our reverse, our left hand comes back this time to touch the left thigh. Maintaining our balance here as we try to stretch the front body, but pushing into the right hand. Cartwheeling the hands back down to the floor. Dropping the knee if you like for a second. We're going to complete this cycle by coming forward into our forward fold again. So we're going to push back and forward to bring our feet together. Dropping into the forward fold. Bending the knees slightly, breathing deeply. After those more difficult standing poses, pushing into the feet, keeping a bend in the knees, uncurling the spine. We're coming up to sweep the hands overhead. Hands come to the front of the chest and down to the sides, keeping the palms facing forward. A few breaths in mountain pose. Breathe out the mouth. You want to do a nice cleansing breath. Try and slow down the breath here. If you're like me, my heart rate is pumping now. I hope yours is too. Breathing in, breathing out, slowing down the breath, keeping the body calm, relaxing. Before we come down into our cool down stretches, I've tortured you enough this class. So let's calm down, we'll meet in a seated position. Actually, we'll meet in a child's pose, let's do it. Just bend your knees slightly to come onto the mat. Bring your shins down to the mat. You can move backwards if you need to. Again, keep playing around with the child's pose. The big toes are going to be glued together, but keep playing around to see what feels good. If you want to bring your knees a little bit further out, or if you prefer to keep them close together. It doesn't matter too much each way, it just stretches different parts of the body. Let's crawl our hands forward, and with that intention of bringing the forehead to the mat. Breathe out the mouth if you want. Breathe out the mouth. Take your final breath here in this cool and calming position before we crawl back up. We're going to go into our cobbler's pose or butterfly legs hip opener. So coming into that, the start of that cross-legged position, sitting down on your bum, planting the feet together and clasping the hands underneath the feet or holding onto your ankles. Whatever feels better. Just let the legs drop. Don't push them here. Just let them hang down. And move your butterfly wings if you fancy it. Keeping the spine as straight as you can here. And just see, but don't judge. See if you notice the difference in practicing this hip opener a few times. See if you notice that your legs are falling a wee bit more forward or falling a little bit further forward to the side. Goodness me, Narelle. If you've got more to go here, let's use that bicep strength, keeping a straight spine, bringing the chest forward, not the forehead. To push in and open the hips a little bit more. Breathe deeply in these hip openers. They can be quite intense. And coming out of that very slowly. Bringing the hands to the outer edge of the knees and pulling them in together. Let's give ourselves a big hug, opening up the back body. Pull everything out, tucking the chin. Before we come down to the mat. So slowly move. You can always, if you want to get a last core work in, you can hold on to the shoulders and come down slowly, 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 slowly. Perfect. So we're going to straighten out the left leg and tuck the right leg into our chest, clasping the hands behind the knee. So here we're going to pull the right leg in towards our chest, squish it in towards the body as much as we can. If we start to do that and the left leg starts to come off the mat, we want to push our heel into the mat to straighten out that leg. We don't want the leg coming off, so don't compromise that. Keep the leg straight and then pull in as much as you can. Try to keep a flat back on the floor so you can feel your shoulder blade, your bum, the whole spine on the floor. Before we move into our twist from this position, so keeping the left hand on the right leg, we'll stretch the right hand out either into a T shape or that cactus shape before we pull the right leg across the body, keeping our shoulder glued to the mat, looking over the right hand side, spinal twist. Breathing. Enjoying the twisting feeling in our spine. Cooling the body down. Final breath here before we grab onto the knee again. One last squeeze, quick squeeze back into the chest, and we'll let that leg go back down to the mat. Left leg now comes up, push into the heel, keep the leg straight. Bring the toes of the right foot towards the body and clasp onto the back of the knee. Pulling it in as much as we can, squishing it in towards the body. This is excellent for digestion as well, because it's squishing all those digestive organs, the intestines, getting them moving. Feeling the whole back on the mat before we let the left hand go of the right knee and pull her over. Keeping the left shoulder blade glued to the floor here. Taking our gaze over towards the left hand side. Stretching out the whole spine the other direction. Wringing out the wet cloth. Fabulous. Bring the left knee back for one last squeeze. Squeeze her in and let her go. And come straight into your Savasana here, or if you want to give a wee happy baby a go, we will lift up the legs, heel bottom of the feet up towards the sky, catch the bottom of the feet with the hands and pull them down, pulling the knees in here towards the arms and pushing them down towards the armpits. Rock and roll if you fancy that. And if you're not already, let's meet in Shavasana. My favorite pose. You can lift the shoulder blades and tuck them together behind the back. Our palms are facing the sky here. Toes are hanging out towards the side. Legs aren't together in Savasana, they are slightly apart. And we're just letting go of any tension in any part of the body. We're feeling the whole body really heavy on the mat. And relaxing down everything. We're taking a moment to appreciate the fact we give ourselves 30 minutes of our own time to help us feel a little bit better. Today I want you to think of one thing that you were impressed with, that you did in this class, that you thought, oh hey, I didn't know I could do that, or I did that way better than last time. Even if it's only a small thing, just think of that one thing and appreciate that you put in the effort to get to that point. And then I want you to think of one thing that you enjoyed from the class, that there might be a little something to work on, but you think, oh yeah, I want to improve that for next time, or that felt good, I'm going to keep doing that pose. Just a wee moment to think of that. Set a goal for the next class. Now we'll get some movement back into the hands and feet. Give them a wiggle. Check they're still awake. Let's move the neck from side to side. Slowly. Let's turn over to one side. On the mat, roll over. And in your own time, come to meet me in a cross-legged position. Loosen the eyes. Relax the shoulders. And thank you for doing class number 5. I hope when I mentioned that, you have felt some improvements, and I hope you do have some more goals to keep progressing. That'd be really exciting. Or even if not, I hope you just enjoyed the 30 minutes, to be honest. Regardless of that, if that, your goal isn't to keep at it, I really appreciate that you just took 30 minutes to follow along with me. Yeah, so if you enjoyed that, I will see you in class number 6. Namaste.